A man who begs for love is not a man, but a servant disguised in skin. In the kingdom of desire, the throne is not earned through softness. It is seized through power, through control, through presence. What most men fail to grasp is simple, brutally simple. Women do not chase the man who is available. They do not lust after the man who is always present. They are drawn, like moths to flame, to the man who remains just beyond reach. Machiavelli wrote that it is better to be feared than loved, if you cannot be both. And in seduction, the same law applies. Women do not beg because they are told to. They beg because their instincts have been hijacked by a man who knows how to withhold his power, not waste it trying to convince her of his worth. Let us begin where most modern men fail: attention. The moment you hand it over too freely, you destroy its value. Constant texts, predictable replies, long-winded confessions of feelings. These are not acts of love, but confessions of weakness. A man who must explain himself is a man who has already lost control of the frame. The woman listens not because she's captivated, but because she's wondering when she can leave. You must learn, the power lies not in the words you say, but in the silence you own. The lion does not announce his hunger. He watches, he stalks. And when he acts, he does so with precision. You must adopt the same rhythm. Let her feel your distance. Let her wonder about your attention. When she texts, don't respond immediately. Let the silence stretch. Not out of ego, but out of control. When you speak, do so slowly. Speak less. Let your presence become the prize, not the default. Every man who has begged, lost. Every man who has withheld, won. If he knew how to do it with intelligence. There is a dangerous lie passed down in this modern era, that to win a woman, you must shower her in affection. That you must cater to her emotions, make her feel safe, available, validated. Machiavelli would scoff at this, because the truth is darker and far more powerful. The more secure a woman feels in your devotion, the less she burns for you. The more you place her on the pedestal, the more she steps off it to find a man she must actually work for. You must stop being the one who reaches out first. You must stop being the man who asks, "Do you like me?" and start becoming the man who makes her question whether she is good enough for you. Do not hand your power away in the name of vulnerability. Vulnerability, when unearned, is not intimacy. It is self-sabotage. Women want to feel like they've won something valuable. And value is not given. It is protected. Watch the dynamic between kings and queens. A true queen is not handed power. She earns it through loyalty, patience, testing. And only then is she allowed entry into the heart of the king. You must become that king. You must train your emotions to serve you, not rule you. If a woman cancels on you, do not respond in anger. Do not show hurt. You say nothing. You move on. That silence, that discipline, it will echo louder in her mind than 1,000 texts from a needy man. Men lose because they react. Powerful men watch. They calculate. They understand that one act of detachment has more impact than hours of affection. This is not cruelty. It is calculation. You do not exist to be her therapist. You are not here to fill her emotional gaps. You are here to lead, to influence, to set the rhythm of interaction. When she sees that you are unbothered by her approval, when she sees that you remain grounded no matter how she tests you, her instincts begin to bend toward you. Powerful attraction begins when a woman senses that you are the prize she cannot fully possess. That you are the rare man who does not chase. That your attention is a gift, not a habit. When she texts you after ignoring you, do not celebrate. Wait. Respond slowly. When she tests you with drama, remain unmoved. She will hate it. She will resist it. but her desire will grow. Because women do not desire men who surrender to their chaos. They desire men who tame it through strength. Machiavelli taught rulers to appear compassionate, but to never let that compassion undermine authority. So too must you learn to smile, to charm, to love, but never at the cost of dominance. You can give her warmth, but only after she has earned your fire. You can offer kindness, but only when it is balanced by self-respect. She must feel that she has entered your world, not that you have thrown yourself into hers. You must become the man she tells her friends about in whispers. The one who made her feel uncertain. The one who didn't chase. The one who made her wonder what he was thinking. These are the men women fantasize about. Not the man who cried in voice notes. Not the man who wrote paragraphs begging for a second chance. But the man who vanished in silence, yet never left her mind, because he did not need her. Because he made her need him. This is not pick-up artistry. This is not manipulation. This is Machiavellian mastery. You do not hurt her. You don't deceive her. You simply allow her to earn you. And in doing so, she becomes obsessed. Not with your body, not with your gifts, but with your power. Because power, when combined with mystery and restraint, becomes the most irresistible force a man can possess. There is a deadly mistake men make in pursuit of love. They believe that honesty is the highest virtue, that revealing their deepest thoughts, their darkest fears, their every intention, is the path to a woman's heart. But Machiavelli would warn them, truth is a weapon, not a pillow. You do not lay it down for comfort. You use it when it serves you. And only then. A man who shows his full hand is not trustworthy. He is disposable, because he has nothing left to reveal. Desire does not grow in the light. It festers in the shadows. It blooms in the unknown. It thrives in the spaces between what she sees and what she imagines. Mystery is not deception. Mystery is power restrained. And the man who masters it becomes the question in her mind that she cannot stop asking. Understand this, women do not become obsessed with clarity. They become obsessed with confusion. Not chaos, but emotional puzzles. The moment you explain yourself too clearly, the moment you say exactly what you want, exactly how you feel, exactly where this is going, you kill the fantasy. You kill the fire. You become predictable. And predictability is the enemy of passion. In Machiavelli's world, the wise prince never showed all his motives. He created appearances. He allowed rumors to spread. He left room for others to wonder. What does he really want? Where does he truly stand? You must do the same. In seduction, this becomes a game of psychological war. You are not the man who is easily read. You are the one who keeps her guessing. And in guessing, she becomes addicted to solving the riddle that is you. This is why the nice guy always fails. He gives too much too fast. He texts too soon. He speaks too openly. He believes that vulnerability buys affection. But vulnerability, when unearned, repels. It comes across as a transaction. Here are my feelings, now give me yours. But that's not seduction. That's salesmanship. And no woman wants to be sold. She wants to be drawn in, slowly, reluctantly, obsessively. A Machiavellian man understands the power of silence. When she asks where this is going, he smiles but doesn't answer. When she asks what he wants from her, he changes the subject. Not to manipulate, but to maintain gravity. Because once she can name everything you are, you stop being exciting. You become ordinary. She can define you, box you, shelve you, and move on. But if she cannot define you, she clings to the possibility that something deeper lies within you. Something she must earn to see. Do not be the open book. Be the locked journal. She must work to open each page. She must feel like each revelation was earned through her patience, her loyalty, her effort. That's when it matters to her. That's when it sticks. A man who tells all too soon is not a lover. He's a liability. Because he has nothing more to discover. When she asks about your past, give her a taste, not the full story. Let your answers be brief, poetic, even cryptic. Let her imagination fill in the gaps. And the more she imagines, the more she invests. Every detail you leave unsaid becomes a seed in her mind. And as days pass, those seeds grow into fascination. You must become the unknown country, the strange forest, the forbidden door she is not sure she should open, but cannot help reaching for. This is where passion is born, not in the known, but in the imagined. She must dream about you. She must wonder where you are, who you're thinking about, what your silence means, and her wondering becomes your throne. Machiavelli understood that the more a ruler was seen, the less he was respected. Familiarity breeds contempt. So too in love. The man who is always available, always expressive, always clear, he becomes familiar. And then he becomes forgettable. But the man who keeps part of himself behind a locked door, that man lives in her thoughts long after he's left the room. This is not cruelty. This is depth. You do not lie. You do not deceive. You simply restrain. You understand that a single well-placed pause can say more than 1,000 words. You understand that a glance, when unexplained, becomes unforgettable. And when you do speak, your words carry weight. Because they are rare. Because they are not expected. A woman may say she wants honesty. But what she craves, what seduces her, is the chase. The slow unraveling of a mystery she cannot solve. The slow unlocking of a man who gives her pieces, but never the whole. That process, the pursuit, the emotional tension, the unpredictability, it is what drives her obsession. Remove it, and you remove her desire. Think like a ruler. Speak like a strategist. Reveal only what strengthens your position. Hold back what makes you ordinary. Do not speak of your plans. Let her see your results. Do not say how much you like her. Let her feel the confusion of wondering. This is not a game. It is psychological elegance. It is the difference between being liked and being unforgettable. A woman who begs does not beg because of what she sees. She begs because of what she can't see. Because you have become a symbol in her mind. Because she thinks you know something she doesn't. Because your eyes hold a story you haven't told. And her obsession becomes her mission to unlock it. The honest man is loved like a brother. The mysterious man is desired like a king. A man who does not control the frame of his relationships is not in a relationship. He is in a slow surrender. You must understand, deeply and without compromise, that women do not submit to men who follow. They do not desire men who negotiate their position. They are drawn, relentlessly and irrationally, to the man who leads. Not with force, but with frame, with direction. With a gravitational presence that silently communicates, this is how things will be. In the court of power, the man who defines the situation wins. The man who controls the context controls the outcome. This is the principle of the frame. It is not physical. It is psychological. It is invisible, but inescapable. And once mastered, it becomes the most seductive force a man can possess. Because a woman does not fall in love with your words. She falls in love with the world you build around her. A world in which you are the unmoved center and she is the orbit. Most men lose desire before they ever gain it, because they allow her to set the tone. She chooses the pace. She controls when and how things move forward. And the man, unaware of what he's losing, becomes reactive. He waits for her reply. He asks where she wants to go. He adjusts himself to her mood, to her timing, to her rhythm. And by doing so, he communicates one fatal message: you are the leader. I am the follower. And once that frame is broken, it is almost impossible to rebuild. Machiavelli warned that power is never shared. It is seized and then carefully managed. The same is true in desire. From the first conversation, you must establish your presence as the dominant frame. That doesn't mean arrogance. It means intention. It means you do not ask, "What do you want from this?" You say, "Here's how I operate. Here's what I value. Here's what I don't tolerate." You must project structure, not softness. You must create certainty, not confusion. And the more you define, the more she follows. Frame control is not loud. It is not combative. It is the art of calm dominance. If she's emotional, you stay steady. If she tests you, you don't flinch. If she challenges your standards, you do not explain. You hold the line. A man who explains himself too much has already lost the frame. A man who stays silent while radiating certainty becomes the axis around which desire spins. Women crave a man whose decisions are final, whose values are unshakable, whose direction is already chosen. Do not let her dictate the emotional tone. That is your domain. If she brings chaos, you bring stillness. If she creates drama, you create boundaries. If she withdraws, you do not chase. You maintain the emotional frame of power. Because the moment you mirror her behavior, she knows she's in control. And women do not beg for what they control. They beg for what they cannot control, but deeply want to be near. She must feel that to be in your presence. She must step into your world, not drag you into hers. You do not adjust your values to keep her. You do not lower your standards to please her. You elevate your expectations and let her rise to meet them. This is not about being cold. It is about being immovable, unshakable. The more certain you are of your reality, the more she will surrender to it. When she tries to test your frame, and she will, it is not to destroy it. It is to measure it. Every question, every emotional outburst, every challenge is her subconscious asking, "Are you strong enough to lead me?" If you collapse, she loses respect. If you hold, she becomes addicted, because most men bend, most men fold. And when you don't, you become rare. You become real. You become the man she cannot forget. Even in your absence, frame matters. When you're not around, does she still feel your standards, your boundaries, your voice in her head reminding her what you allow and what you don't? That's the test. You don't need to be present to lead. If your frame is strong enough, it leads in silence. She modifies her behavior not because you asked, but because your energy, your consistency, your structure demand it. Machiavelli once wrote that people are governed more by appearances than by truth. And in seduction, this could not be more accurate. It's not who you are, it's the reality you project. If you project weakness, she will treat you as weak. If you project indecision, she will assume control. But if you project strength, clarity, and direction, without ever needing to prove it, she will feel the weight of your presence, even when you say nothing. The power of frame lies in your ability to redefine what's happening. If she pulls away, you don't see rejection, you see qualification. If she's cold, you don't get emotional, you become more centered. If she tests your limits, you see it as confirmation that your frame is affecting her. Every behavior becomes data, not wounds. And because you do not take things personally, you maintain your throne. You are the sun. You do not chase. You do not orbit. You remain. And the stronger your gravitational pull, the more she spins around you. Not out of manipulation, but out of unconscious submission to your strength. This is not force. This is structure. And women crave structure far more than they admit. Not because they are weak, but because they are emotional beings who desire the grounding presence of a man who is unshaken by emotion. Do not try to win her with words. Win her with reality. Your frame is not what you say. It is what you allow, what you tolerate, what you walk away from. The man who controls the situation without needing to explain it. The man who holds steady while others react. That is the man who owns the room. And that is the man who owns desire. A man who cannot detach from his emotions is a man who has already surrendered his throne. In love, as in war. The man who loses control of himself becomes controlled by others. And Machiavelli understood this truth better than any man of his age. Emotion is a tool, not a master. If you are ruled by it, you will be ruled by those who know how to provoke it. In the game of desire, emotional detachment is not indifference. It is discipline. It is the quiet, internal command that says, "My feelings will not betray me." The world will test you. Women will test you. But when your emotions do not move recklessly, you become rare. You become dangerous. Because nothing is more seductive than a man who cannot be shaken by anything outside of himself. Most men are reactive. A delayed text sends them into a spiral. A small insult wounds them for days. A cold shoulder turns them into needy beggars for validation. But the man who has trained himself to remain centered, especially under emotional pressure, is the man who begins to create psychological gravity. She leans in. She wonders why he doesn't flinch, why he doesn't explain, why he doesn't break down to her emotional storms. And in that wondering, her desire deepens. Women do not chase the emotionally needy. They do not long for the man who is too available, too open, too expressive about every thought and fear that passes through his heart. They chase the man who remains unmoved by drama, unaffected by silence, uninterested in begging. He becomes a mystery, a fortress, a calm in the storm, and women are drawn to that calm like fire to dry wood. Machiavelli warned that rulers must appear compassionate, but must always maintain control. The same is true in your relationships. You may show warmth. You may smile, you may listen, you may even open up. But only after you have proven to yourself that your inner world cannot be dictated by her moods, her tests, her approval. When a man reacts emotionally to everything she does, he confirms that she controls the tempo. But when he remains composed, she begins to question what power she truly has. A woman is not attracted to a man who needs her. She is attracted to a man who chooses her, but doesn't need her to breathe. That difference is everything. Neediness smells like fear, and fear destroys desire. But strength, internal, quiet, sovereign strength, awakens something primal in her. She may deny it with words. She may protest it with logic. But her body, her instincts, her mind, they surrender to it. Detachment is not withdrawal. It is presence without desperation. It is the ability to see clearly while others are blinded by their feelings. It is the power to walk away, not out of anger, but out of principle. When a woman disrespects your boundaries and you do not react, but instead quietly disappear, your silence becomes louder than any argument could ever be. She will feel it in the emptiness. She will hear your absence in the places where your attention used to live. Because the most powerful move a man can make is to be unaffected. This is not about playing games. It is about understanding leverage. A man who cannot detach is constantly negotiating from weakness. He cannot say no. He cannot walk away. He cannot hold the line. But the detached man has no fear of loss, because he knows that his value does not come from being chosen. It comes from being worthy to be chosen and unwilling to tolerate anything beneath his standard. This is why women often return to the man who was hardest to shake, not the one who texted every day, not the one who poured his heart out, but the one who smiled in silence, disappeared without drama, and reappeared with the same unbothered calm. She couldn't move him emotionally. And because she couldn't move him, he never left her mind. The men she could control faded, but the man she couldn't decode, that man haunted her. Machiavelli knew that those who control themselves gain the ability to control others, not through force, but through presence. Emotional detachment does not mean you are cold. It means you choose when to feel. You choose when to speak. You do not let the moment control your spirit. You control the moment with your restraint. And that kind of control is intoxicating to a woman who is used to men who fall apart. When she insults you, you don't defend. When she pulls away, you don't chase. When she tests you, you don't react. You observe. You stay calm. You adjust nothing. And she begins to realize that she is dealing with a different kind of man. A man who cannot be baited. A man who cannot be broken. A man whose world does not revolve around her affection. And in that realization, her attraction is born. Because desire is not born from ease. It is born from emotional friction. The tension between what she wants and what you allow her to have. And when you do not give her your emotional core immediately, she starts to dig. She starts to prove herself. She starts to earn what most men gave away for free. You become valuable not just for your presence, but for your emotional control. The strongest man is not the one who can lift the most weight. It is the one who can sit in silence with his heart on fire and not show it. The one who can be tempted, tested, insulted, abandoned, and still remain unmoved. Because that man is no longer playing the game. He is the game. And the woman who thought she was in control suddenly finds herself being led by something deeper than charm, deeper than looks. She is led by structure, by restraint, by dominance disguised as composure. To detach is to free yourself from the chains of performance. You do not act to be liked. You do not speak to be accepted. You are already whole, already complete, already full. And when she feels that fullness, without effort, without begging, without weakness, her desire turns into obsession. Because a man who is emotionally detached becomes the rarest thing in her world.